Welcome to Sports Talk with Travis and Dylan Hutton and Corey Johnston. We'll go ahead and add him in. We're here live from Political Dogs in Glade Spring, Virginia Town Square. We've got a pretty good crowd out here, some recognizable faces to me and Corey, but probably not to Travis. Travis, you want to go ahead and tell everybody what Sports Talk is going to consist of?
Oh, yeah. So, we were here at Political Dogs in Town Square of Glade Spring. We were here a couple of weeks ago doing our pregame meeting for the ball game on Friday night, and we thought, man, what kind of fun it would be to just sit around in a restaurant and talk about sports for a little while. So fortunately, the owner and mayor here in Glade Spring, Lee Coburn, was able to put this thing together and give us the opportunity to gather in here tonight and talk about a few things. We're going to be talking about the Hoagie District. We'll be talking about some football going on there. We're going to talk some college football. Time permits, we might get into some professional football. First off, though, we want to take a few minutes to thank our sponsors. Let's, of course, obviously our location tonight, Political Dog, downtown Glade Spring. We also want to thank Big M Farm Supply, Serber & Son, Glade Pharmacy, Carter's Pharmacy, Abingdon Equipment Company, and Lowe's Home Improvement Warehouse. We want to thank those guys for sponsoring our show tonight.
Yeah, special thanks to those businesses that are sponsoring our show. It's definitely taken off pretty well as far as the network altogether, the pregame show and everything, and we've now got a weekly radio show. Who would have thought? But with that, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. Up next, we're going to start off with Hoagie Talk. We've got the Rebels head coach, Mark Palmer, who was generous enough to stop by today. So we've got him here. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Sports Talk with Travis and Dylan Hutton. They'll be talking Hogo sports and college sports here on the Hoagie Network. They would like to thank their sponsors, starting off with Appalachian Plastics, Big M Farm Service, Serber & Son, Carter's Pharmacy, Glade Pharmacy, Abingdon Equipment, Lowe's, never stop improving, and last but not least, Political Dogs. Sports Talk with Travis and Dylan Hutton is brought to you by none other than Political Dogs, the hot dog leader of the free world. Dine in or take out of Political Dogs on 215 Town Square Street in Glade Spring, Virginia. The number is 276-429-1165. They're open Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. And check out their website, politicaldogs.com. They're also the site for our show on Tuesdays at 6 o'clock. Make sure you stop by and watch and eat at Political Dogs. If you have any Hoagie related questions or any college football related questions in general, tweet us at Hogo Game Day. And we'll answer the questions right here or discuss the comments right here live on the show. Sports Talk with Travis and Dylan Hutton is brought to you by none other than Political Dogs, the hot dog leader of the free world. Dine in or take out of Political Dogs on 215 Town Square Street in Glade Spring, Virginia. The number is 276-429-1165. They're open Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. And check out their website, politicaldogs.com. They're also the site for our show on Tuesdays at 6 o'clock. Make sure you stop by and watch and eat at Political Dogs.
All right, welcome back to Sports Talk, and now we have Rebel head coach Mark Palmer up here for his interview. And Coach, let's go back to last week. Of course, at John Battle, your team came back. You were down 35-7 with 6 minutes to go in the third quarter. The team battled back, and I ended up just getting beat by 8 points. What mounted that comeback, but how did it get so out of hand at the start?
It's a big momentum swing. We opened kickoff, ran it back to the 20, and the first play ran off tackle and got to 11. There's a fumble, and after that, John Bell had a real nice drive, used up 9 minutes off the clock, went up 6-0, and they stopped us on a 3-and-out block our next punt. At that point, they really had momentum and took the wind out of our sails. It was 18-0, and we ran 5 offensive plays. So we cut 18-7. They went up 25-7 at halftime, and we actually had right before halftime we threw a pass up that was catchable around the 1-yard line, but it just it was bad body position type of thing. But they scored to start the third quarter, 32-7. And after that, we just scored and got on the roll, played good defense, and cut it 32-30, and came up a little bit short.
Yeah, well, that was an impressive comeback. We were keeping up with the scores from around the district, and we kept noticing y'all kept battling back right there in the third quarter. So do you feel like your offense was able to make some, or did you find some other pieces of your offense that are going to work moving into the future? Well, you probably had to throw a lot.
We did. We threw quite a bit. And I thought we did a really good job. We got a couple mismatches that we were taking advantage of, and we at this point have not had to throw, but I think anybody watch that film now will make us harder to defend because they realize we can throw, and we got several kids that catch the football. So it was a game in which I thought the entire night we played great effort. We just made too many mistakes that we're trying to correct, some costly penalties and costly turnovers. And if we could correct those, then, the sky's the limit what we could actually do.
All right. And the next question here, that being said, the passing game, from what I've heard from the paper, Graydon Williams had a pretty good game as far as receiving.
He did. Graydon had a huge game, made a couple of nice catches twice. If I'm not mistaken, he caught the ball with pass interference called, so good concentration. And that was a mismatch we had, and the way they were playing on trips allowed us to get him one-on-one, and we tried to do our best of getting him the football. So he did have a big night. Alex Davenport also had a big night. He was able to catch 5 balls on our little bubble screen and get yards after the catch. So really pretty solid job all the way around.
Yeah, Alex Davenport's going to be very talented. He's going to be a good asset for your team moving into the future.
Coach, I just want to thank you for Tom Brady doing a terrible job on your fantasy team last night and allowing me to pick up the win this week. That was good to move my record there to 3-1. Okay, 4 non-district games so far this season. You come through them 2-2. That's probably acceptable. Certainly, you'd like to be 3-1 or even better 4-0. But how's the team's confidence going into this first Hoagie-Higgy district game of the year?
Well, that's interesting because I think that we all would like to be 4-0, and that's not taking anything away from our opponents. There were games that we thought we could win, and the 2 games we won, we played pretty well. 2 games we lost, we've had turnovers and mistakes. So I think they realized last week playing against John Battle that when we play well, we can play with anybody on our schedule, and if we don't play well, as evidenced by the season, then we can lose anybody on our schedule.
So you got a Roll Retreat comes in. They've got 2 big-time running backs. They got Stone Mullins, Nolan Ryan. Both those guys have carried the ball a lot. Seems like most of their offense obviously is geared on the ground. How's your defense looking? I mean, you think you're going to be able to gear up and stop these guys?
Yeah, I really like what Roll Retreat does on offense. They run the veer like we do, and it's just you can't. For me, you can't stop it. You can slow it down and do it. But old guy told me one time, said it's kind of like Novocaine. If you give enough time, it'll take work. So it's going to be a challenge to stop them. They do have 2 good running backs. When I found out one of the running backs, Nolan Ryan, I thought he might throw fastballs at us, but he's a pretty talented kid out there.
Yeah, so he's the Wythe County Express instead of the Texas Express, right?
Exactly right. And their offensive line comes off the ball very well. They really been coached well. They come off and hit you in the mouth. So it's going to be a big challenge for our defense.
Do you plan on doing anything differently on the defensive side, or are you just going to kind of run your same defense that you've been running this year so far?
Well, we're going to have to make some adjustments to what they do. Don't want to give a whole lot away, but we spent 7 weeks running our base defense, and in order for our kids to have confidence in what we're doing, if we go scrap everything this week totally, then they're going to lose confidence after that. So we're trying to make sure that our kids understand the defensive assignments. They've seen the veer all year when we run against them in practice, so they understand that they have to read their keys, they have to do their defensive responsibilities in order to have a chance to slow them down.
How does it feel this? Of course, it's worked out this way the last couple of years for you guys too, playing all these non-district games early and then the second half of the season. I guess that's a pretty good way to do it because you get to the halfway point and you can say, look, guys, our season's still ahead of us. We can still, if we win all these games, it's no telling what we can do.
Yes, it is. I do like the way that's set up. When I was at St. Paul and Irvington, we had district games mixed throughout the season. But a great friend of mine, legendary Tom Turner, used to tell me, he said he played those schools up front so he'd get ready for the district because as much as he wanted to win the non-district games, if he could learn something from a loss to prepare him to win the district, then he was fine with that. So, our guys are talking about this starts our new season, our second season, and we're 0-0, and everybody other than Northwood, I do believe, has a loss at this point. So, we're right here in the thick of things, and we go out and play well Friday night, and we're real excited about Rural Retreat coming to town.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody talking about, Northwood being 5-0, it is impressive, but at the same time, they've only played 2 district games, so Northwood is still a question mark as far as that. I mean, Chilhowie, we can all agree, is a talented football team, but they didn't come out and play their best against Northwood. At least I don't feel that way from what I saw on Friday night, and I feel like maybe if Northwood can get a shot at somebody, we get George Wythe here in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from now for Northwood. But Northwood, though, you got them the last game of the year, but up to that point you got these next 2 games, Rural Retreat at home, then you travel to Damascus, a big game against Holston, a big rivalry game. They're down this year, but they'll probably be very excited when PH rolls into Damascus.
Well, I think when you get in a rivalry game, records go out the window. Their kids, they know our kids well. We're close, proximity, and our kids know them. And they're not going to, it's their homecoming, and they're not going to just say, well, here goes Patrick Henry, oh boy. They're going to come out, and as they did for the last several years, they beat us. So, we should be hungry, but, I don't want to be thinking down the road because we have our hands full Friday with Rural Retreat, a very talented ball club.
Yeah, Stone Mullins and that Rural Retreat rushing attack, they're definitely a dynamic duo, but you all have your own dynamic duo. Andy Cuddy's back from his shoulder injury,
yes, sir.
So he'll be back. How are you going to balance the time now? It's got to be pretty easy for you as far as having those 2 in the backfield. Are there any formations? Can we expect to see them maybe together?
Yes, we originally had planned on doing a rotation in our flex bone set, or as we call it, the Rebel Bone. They had alternate series. They both play defense, both play offense. They stay fresh. But we also have a 2-back set that we had planned on basically unveiling against John Battle, but it's hard to run the ball when it's 25-7 or 32-7. So we had to get out of that, and of course I'm giving away, if anybody from Rural Retreat's listening, they ain't gonna tell Coach Hughes and Coach Akers, but Coach Ray. But it just gives us a chance to run almost split back veer from the pistol set, and that's what we're looking at doing. So now we've got 2 guys in the backfield that both run hard, both carry the football, and I think it makes it a little harder for us to defend. And
we're talking about just 2 running backs. Other than that, I mean, you got Alex Davenport, Kent Kestner, Caleb Boyd in the backfield that you're able to. I mean, if you want to put guys in motion off of that to hand them off, especially in the shotgun, do some jet sweeps out of that, try to get to the edge. You've got that speed, and they're pretty young players at those 2 positions. At the wide receiver position, you've got a pretty good amount of players.
We do. Our skill guys, we have Kent Kestner, Grady Williams, and Zach Wright, Isaac Carver seniors. But we have Caleb Boyd, who's a junior, Andy Cuddy's a junior, Alex Davenport, and Dakota Humphrey, both sophomores. So we got some guys there that's right there in the mix that are going to be around for a couple more years, and we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah, Dakota Humphrey. It's hard to believe that he's just a sophomore.
Yeah, he's carrying the mail for Patrick Henry so far this season. Of course, you mentioned these young guys. Of course, you hit on some of your seniors there. It's a senior-heavy team, and a lot of these kids have been with you for their whole high school careers, and I know you got to be really proud. They haven't had the best of success, but I believe they've all played really hard for you, haven't they?
Well, it takes time, and I'm getting as much as anybody else, a little impatient with wants and wins. But I can tell you from where we started to now, on Friday night, these kids play very hard. They become physical, and their effort and their attitude's great. And there comes a point to where we need to get a signature win that will just let those guys know without a doubt they can win. And the practices, the preparation, the off season, they do a wonderful job. And I just want to see them experience some success on the field because they've learned success off the field.
I know you don't want to look ahead beyond Rural Retreat, but we mentioned Holston. Does it surprise you how much they are struggling this year?
Well, it's a small school, and I've coached at 2 small schools before, and Patrick Henry's not really large, but when you've had the success they've had and the tremendous players they've had over there through the years, it's hard to replace someone with that type of talent. And it's just some growing pains. When Coach Matlock was given the opportunity to move up into the profession, that as well as they moved on, it's still tough not to have a guy that's been there for several years. And Coach Patterson's doing a good job with them and the rest of the coaching staff. But, they're just adjustment period to do that. Much with the thing going on at John Battle right now, Coach Wright taking back over,
Yeah, Coach Wright taking back over. that was a very big surprise. A move right there, right after week 1. That was big. But let's go ahead and talk about the defense. I mean, I think people are surprised about the Rebel defense this year. Whenever they went over to Rye Cove, whenever we was doing our predictions, we figured it would be a shootout just based on what Rye Cove did to Holston. But I think it shows how much more this defense has improved.
Did I say shootout? I meant shutout.
Yeah,
that's what I meant.
Yeah, they've played pretty well this year, and I mean, even in the losses, I mean, the John Battle game, it sounds like the offense gave up some situations. The offense has to help the defense out sometimes.
We have to. We have to be some field position. If we're not going to move the football, we can't give the ball in the 10-yard line. We've got to be able to punt the ball, play defense, and make them drive the field. And part of that defense is we put emphasis on it from day one that we really want to play better defense. If we're going to be successful, then we have to play defense. The second thing is we're getting a really good job out of our kicking game. Cam Buchanan has had 2 to 5 touchbacks this year as our kicker, and it's the first time I think since I've been here we've had anybody put the ball in the end zone. He's also been able to pin people in with some kicks that gets coffin kicks corners over a sky kick and bounces around. So that puts our defense in a position to where the offense of the opponents, they got to drive 80, 75 yards. It's a lot of difference in getting the ball around the 45 and 50 yards.
Yeah, and I think to talk about that point, PH really hasn't had a great kicker or somebody that they could totally rely on since Caleb Fry back in 2010, 2009, and 2010.
So obviously this game's got a lot of emotion attached to it with it being homecoming. You talked about having a lot of seniors who have been through games like this, but you've also got some young guys who have stepped up this year like what we talked about. How do you get your guys to prepare for such an emotionally an important game? I mean, this is your first Hoga-Higi matchup. So is there any difference in how you prepare the kids this week compared to the previous weeks?
Well, I think that with anytime you're dealing with 17, 18-year-old kids, 15, 16-year-old kids, if you put too much emphasis on something, they can go either way. They can be sky high or they can get really nervous and not perform. So what we've tried to do is we've tried to go each week and let them talk about this is the big week, this is the big game, and make that the most important game of the year. And we don't want to look down the road, but naturally, with homecoming being here, there's going to be people that's not seen us play but once a year. There's going to be some relatives come in. So that's some self-motivation by the young men that says, hey, my uncle's coming in and watching me play. He's not seen me play before. So the fact that it's homecoming is a little special because, I'm not going to lie. I would like to put on a good performance so that when people go away from here, they say, man, those Rebels are playing the way we used to play. Or they're very impressive. They're scrappy. They play hard. They're physical. But we try not to get the kids too big. I like to be consistent and just use small motivating facts through the week just to kind of pick them a little bit to get them on their toes.
Yeah, we're expecting a big game. Of course, we'll be there setting up our pregame show. We haven't figured out a location yet, but we'll be deciding that here later on in the week. We hope we get a big crowd out. Maybe Rebel Nation will show up. Hopefully the weather is going to going to be on our
the
side.
Only day they're calling for rain all week. You believe that?
That makes sense, doesn't it?
That's rain on Friday. With
about a 60% chance.
Showers, so we don't want that.
We may be in the gym.
Well, okay.
But either way, yeah. But thank you, Coach, for coming on and taking your time out.
Thank you very much. This has been very enjoyable, and you guys are doing a great job, and a great job for football in Southwest Virginia, and man, you guys just keep it up.
Now, hopefully we can get you on live video on Friday about 5.
Oh, we can probably work something out.
All right, we'll work it out then. Yeah, we'll see. We'll be back with Coach Palmer again on Friday for Hogo Game Day, the live video pregame show starting at 5 o'clock right there, and then we're going to do the live game broadcast. Me and Travis will be on that, and Corey will be there doing it, and we'll be up in the booth calling the action from the Rebels' first Hoga-Higgy game of the season. But thank you, Coach Palmer.
Thank you very much, Dylan. Guys. Thank you very much.
With that, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. We'll talk more Hogo football coming up next.
You're listening to Sports Talk with Travis the Bus and Dylan Hutton. They'll be talking Hogo sports and college sports here on the Hoga-Higgy Network. They would like to thank their sponsors, starting off with Appalachian Plastics, Big M Farm Service, Serber & Son, Carter's Pharmacy, Glade Pharmacy, Abingdon Equipment, Lowe's, never stop improving. And last but not least, Political Dogs. Sports Talk with Travis the Busk and Dylan Hutton is brought to you by none other than Political Dogs, the hot dog leader of the free world. Dine in or take out of Political Dogs on 215 Town Square Street in Glade Spring, Virginia. The number is 276-429-1165. They're open Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. And check out their website, politicaldogs.com. They're also the site for our show on Tuesdays at 6 o'clock. Make sure you stop by and watch and eat at Political Dogs.
All right, welcome back to Sports Talk with Travis DeBusk and Dylan Hutton. I have no idea why Travis's name's first on this show.
Because it sounds better. Oh, yeah, and I'm smarter. And I'm better looking. And, well, we'll stop right there.
Is this a roast? All right, now we're going to talk Hogo. We might as well get back on that. We'd like to thank Coach Palmer again for stopping by. He brought 2 hats. I guess we've got a fight over. It'll be a fight till death for the other.
Well, I can't wear the visor. I'll get a sunburn in the visor. So yeah, that's yours.
Yeah, I wish she'd have brought you a Columbia blue wig. What do you think?
That's what I need.
That might look good. But scores from last week around the Hoagie. It was a pretty good week as far as matchups. Northwood Chilhowie, of course, was the game of the week, and I got that game right. I chose the right team to win that one. I picked Northwood. Northwood ended up winning that one 28-12, and that was a very good matchup. We'll get back and talk about that here in a second. Other scores: Tazewell traveled to George Wythe and was defeated. George Wythe won 28-20. Marion faced off with Holston in Damascus and won 54-0. Patrick Henry went to John Battle up on Battle Hill and was in a real shootout there in the third and fourth quarters. Ended up getting beat 38-30. And the final game from the Hoga-Higgy last week, Rural Retreat at Narrows. Rural Retreat broke away from Narrows late and got the 35-21 win. But Travis, we were at the Northwood Chilhowie game, and there was a lot of confidence from the Chilhowie side, but once kickoff started, it seemed like the nerves got to them, and they just weren't able to get past. They'd get down to the 30-yard line, and something bad would happen every time.
Right. I know in high school football, you're dealing with young kids like Coach Palmer hit on, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds. Maybe their minds aren't always on the game, and I just believe the game Friday night was too big for Chilhowie. Northwood, they come in and they were definitely the more prepared team. Chilhowie couldn't get out of their own way. There were 2 drives early in which Chilhowie drove down to the Northwood 30-yard line, just laid the ball on the ground. I didn't think they held their composure very well, and I didn't think the coaching staff at Chilhowie held their composure very well either. Seems like they could feel the game slipping away, and I believe that reflected down through their players a little bit. Chilhowie had played a tough schedule. Well, all the way through it. It doesn't get any easier this week. They take on Virginia High this week. Chilhowie's done a great job to be in those games with some opportunities to win them. But Friday night, I just believe they were outmatched, overmanned, and just weren't up to the task of taking on the Northwood Panthers.
Yeah, Northwood, it seemed like was ready to come into Chilhowie, and they didn't even care it was homecoming.
It's one of those high-emotion games. That's what I was talking to Coach Palmer about. It's when you've got an emotion that high, and I really thought momentum was a big thing in the game because I felt like Chilhowie was starting to get the momentum back right before halftime. And if they could have got the ball in, we're talking about a totally different score. And they come out right after halftime and they shut Northwood's offense down, get a 3-and-out, get the ball back, and they're driving and they had the fumble. And it's just like you took the air out of it. It's just like the whole game changed there. And honestly, the Chilhowie passing offense was pretty efficient until the fourth quarter. And then you go back to the same thing, the turnovers, the missed passes. We saw 3 fade passes wide open for Chilhowie, and they were all overthrown. So I think momentum was a big swing in the second half of that game, but I really felt like right after halftime it could have went either way.
I feel like, Chilhowie, they did play a tough schedule up to this point, and I just don't know, though. Chilhowie, this season doesn't look like it's going to be very good. I don't have them. Let me take a look at their schedule here. They lost at Marion, which that could have been a different game. They beat J.I. Burton at home. They lost to Abingdon, but what's that worth? They got beat by Tazewell by 8 points. Then they got beat by Northwood. They got Virginia High this week. They're not going to win that one. At least I don't think so. They're going to go to Rural Retreat, a team that beat them last year, and having to play them on the road, that's a toss-up. George Wyth finally hitting on all strides. Are y'all going to have them favored in that one? And then Patrick Henry, okay, maybe. And then Holston, yeah.
Well, I've picked Chilhowie to win every game so far, so I'm 1-4, just like the Warriors are. I don't know. They're in the same shape that Patrick Henry's in, like we talked about with Coach Palmer a second ago. Their season's still in front of them. That right now they've just got the one loss in the Hoagie district. They played some. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. The Marion game, but they still got some. They still got some winnable games in front of them if they pull it together. That Tazewell game, that was big. They spotted Tazewell a big lead and had to fight back into it and got close, got within 1 score of winning it. The Marion game to kick off the season, they couldn't get out of their own way. And like Corey hit on in the Northwood game, just a lot of missed opportunities. Delp wasn't on. Maybe they were in his head and he couldn't complete those passes, but they had open receivers to throw to.
I think they got some growing pains, honestly. I think they got a lot of growing up to do, and like you talked about, the mental mistakes on the sidelines. You can't have that either, especially from your leaders.
Maybe once, but for it to happen 3 or 4 times, that's just.
I'd have to agree with you, Travis. They're 0-2 in the Hogo, but who's to say? That Olinger injury could be more than what we thought it was at Northwood. And without Olinger, is Northwood the same team? Now, we did see some depth.
Doan, yeah.
Doan had a 51-yard touchdown there towards the fourth quarter. But even at 0-2, they could still turn this season around. It's and I think that's what the coaching staff's going to have to base their learning experiences on. This season is not over yet. We've still got games in front of us, and we've still got to play every game.
But, we're talking about the bad start from Chilhowie, but still, whenever you look at the 1A West standings, which were released, yesterday, the official standings, they're 17th. They're tied for 16th. Top 16 make it, but the better record goes to Castlewood with it's 11.6 is the score total, and Castlewood has a better record, so Chilhowie's out by 1 spot, and that's just because.
Let's say they do lose that game to Virginia High Friday night, and they win out. Maybe they pick up the win over George Wyth and Patrick Henry and Holston. Both those games probably toss-ups right now. 5-5, good chance they get into those West. They get into the West playoffs.
And you can use that as motivation. The coaching staff, I'm sure they're aware of these standards. So use that as motivation. We're not out. We may be shut out right now, but we're right on. We're out by a tiebreaker. Our season's not over. We got to keep going.
Now with that, let's switch teams here and let's talk just a second before we move on about Northwood. How big? They're second place in 1A West Division.
The game against Chilhowie Friday night that we were at was huge. That's the first time since 2003 that they've beaten Chilhowie, and I think that's something to grow on, and they're excited. But the big question is the Olinger injury. Is that going to be, is that going to be affected? Is that going to be something that they look now? Obviously not this week, with Montcalm, but I don't think that's going to have any effect on that game at all. But George Wythe in 2 weeks, you would think maybe he needs to be back for that game to get them over the edge to win that one. And then after George Wythe, is there a team that can beat Northwood the way they're playing right now?
No, not the way they're playing right now, but it's not too early to look ahead going into those West Division playoffs. There are some teams out there that will be able to stop that single wing. You just wonder if there's any variety to their offense. The game we watched Friday night, their offense is very vanilla. Now, it's tough. I mean, it's effective, obviously. They're second or first in 1A in the state in scoring, so it's effective. But everything's within about a 10-yard radius there on the line of scrimmage. Guys in and out, hitting the gaps, crossing you up. Somebody's going to pick up on that. Somebody's going to be able to pull those linebackers up a little bit closer from that second level and be able to get them just as soon as they bust through the gap.
And I think it goes back to what we talked about before the game. We kind of touched on the WCYB interview that Olinger did for the Player of the Week. They're going to throw it at you. They're going to run their game, and they're going to want you to stop it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they run 44 times for 270 yards against Chilhowie. They're going to put it out there. If you can stop it, stop it. But we haven't seen a team that's even come close yet.
No, not yet.
I'm looking forward to the George Wythe game. It's going to be exciting. I agree. I think Northwood rolls it over in West Virginia this Friday night, but that George Wythe game is going to be big.
But that will add a new dynamic if Doan isn't back, and if we still don't know about his status come Monday. That's going to be a big question mark. I feel like Doan, I think he's a good running back, and Turley, their offense is a lot different. When he comes in, they're going to try to get to the edge.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't the most impressive thing about Northwood so far this year been that defensive backfield, secondary?
8 interceptions, 2 corners. That's huge. I mean, and the defense holds. I mean, the defense stopped Chilhowie. And we talked about the fade passes that Chilhowie missed to those wide open receivers, but it's not like they'll had all day to throw the ball either. There was pressure in the backfield, and I think they had some defensive players really step up and play well.
Yeah, it seemed like that game went very well. I mean, the game started off well for Northwood. They scored points early. They scored on their third offensive play of the game, so it was definitely a quick start. Let's go ahead and look at the Hoga-Higgy standings. Sitting in first place is the Northwood Panthers at 5-0, 2-0 in the district. Second place, Marion. They're 4-1, 4-1 in the district. They hold the head-to-head with Northwood just because Northwood's victory in Saltville against Marion. Third place are the Patrick Henry Rebels, 2-2 and 0-0 in the district. George Wythe 2-3, 0-1 in the district, and Rural Retreats 3-2, 0-1 in the district. Holston 0-5, 0-1 in the district, and Chilhowie 1-4, 0-2 in the district. Of course, that's going by Hoga-Higgy standings. That's not going by overall standings. So, of course, Chilhowie's dead last because the 0-2 start. Let's go ahead and do the Hoga-Higgy power rankings, Travis. I think yours and mine are pretty much the same. You want to go ahead and call those off? Corey, I don't know. Does yours differ?
I think mine may differ just a little bit.
Go ahead and call yours. Yeah, my standings, my power rankings almost mimic the league standings. As a matter of fact, I got Northwood in first place, Marion in second. Of course, Marion's done got the bulk of their Hoga-Higgy district schedule behind them so far. Just that one loss to Northwood. I got George Wythe in third, Rural Retreat sitting there in fourth, and you could probably toss 4, 5, and 6 around a little bit. You got Rural Retreat, Chilhowie, and Patrick Henry right there. Obviously, Holston is at the bottom right now. Like Coach Palmer mentioned, maybe they can get that turned around and pick up some wins going forward. But they're certainly the last place team in my power rankings this week.
I've got close to the same thing. The only thing I've got is I've got Patrick Henry ahead of Chilhowie. I think they're a little bit better than Chilhowie. Like we talked about earlier, Chilhowie's got a little bit of growing pains, but I think Chilhowie and Patrick Henry are about in the same boat, to be honest with you. You could probably switch that around either way, but pretty much the same from me here. I got Holston last, obviously, so other than that, everything is the same.
Yep, so the only difference there in ours is you had Chilhowie ahead or behind Patrick Henry. Yeah, it's not enough to really, we can mull over that and argue about that, but I feel like
those could really be flip-flopped. Those teams are kind of the same to me.
Yeah, well, I see what you mean with the start Chilhowie's at, of course. I see what you mean, but I guess we need to go ahead and now look at the best and worst game of the week last week, and I think the best game would be the one at John Battle in Bristol. PH to be down as much as they were to battle back that has to be the best game of the week.
Yeah, of course. We were doing the Chilhowie, Northwood at Chilhowie game, and we're sitting there in the press box trying to figure out what in the world's happened. Patrick Henry's so far down so early. And then the next scoring update we get, Patrick Henry's marched all the way back and made a ball game out of it, even with a chance to win it there at the end. So that was definitely probably the best game of the week.
Yeah, then the worst game of the week.
I think that's pretty obvious. I think we all kind of agreed with that one. That was the Marion Holston game, 54-0. I think we talked earlier that we thought that Holston would at least get on the board. But
you had them scoring 30 points.
Yeah, they never got started.
Well, the Marion defense they're tough.
They're bad.
Yeah, I mean, you thought Holston, of course, they hadn't won a game yet going into last week. Still haven't won a game, but they had scored lots of points.
Oh, yeah.
Who would have thought that they were playing at home that they wouldn't get a single point on the board, but the Marion Scarlet Hurricanes shut them down.
Yeah, because Holston had definitely been putting up points. Put up 65 there in that season opener.
Let's look ahead to this week's Hoagie District schedule. Of course, we mentioned Virginia High plays Chilhowie. Tazewell Bulldogs are coming over to play the Marion Scarlet Hurricanes. That should be a good ball game. Northwood, the Panthers travel over to Mount Calm, West Virginia. Now, somebody's got to tell me, where is Mount Calm, West Virginia?
I doubt people in West Virginia know where Mount Calm, West Virginia is.
And, of course,
Andy's got the directions.
And, of course, the game
we're not going to.
No, we're not riding with Andy, no.
We're not driving over there.
No.
Yeah.
The game we're doing this week, of course, is down here at Emory. World Retreat comes over and plays the Patrick Henry Rebels. I'll be glad to get to that pregame show so we can pick this week's winner, because all I've heard all week is I put on the Panther hit, baby, and they won.
Hey, they did. I looked pretty good in it. It smelled bad. You talking about smelling bad?
You look good.
It looked good. That was probably my best look. Matches my hair color. It wasn't too bad. And see, if I pick PH, if I pick the Indians, they'll be black-headed. Most Indians are black-headed. So
There you go.
And I thought this was interesting. I put this together. If the 1A West playoffs started today, I put the seedings up for the top 16 schools and put them together. 1 plays 16, 2 plays 15. You know how it goes. But if the 1A West playoffs started today, the higher seed, of course, gets a home field advantage. Game 1 would be Honeacre at home versus Castlewood. Game 2 would be the 8th seed would be Rural Retreat playing Twin Valley, and that'd be a pretty good game, I would say.
That'd be a tough game, yeah.
2 good running games. Game 3 would be number 5 seed Hayside versus number 12 Covington. These are going to change, but this is just a fun thing to do, I think. Game 4, number 4 Auburn, not the Tigers, War Eagle, versus number 13 Clintwood, the Green Wave. And in Game 5, number 6 Hurley, who's had a very good year from what I've read a little bit about, versus number 11 George Wythe. So George Wythe might have to travel to Hurley, but I expect that to change as George Wythe starts picking up some more wins. Game number 6, I've got number 3 Fort Chiswell taking on the 14 seed at this point, which is the Patrick Henry Rebels.
That's an old Hogo matchup.
Yeah, it's an old school Hogo matchup, and that would be a decent game if PH played their best. Game 7 would be number 7 Galax versus number 10, Radford. Be a pretty good matchup there. And then game number 8 would be your number 2 seed Northwood Panthers facing off with Eastern Montgomery. And I got to see Eastern Montgomery in the Bank of Marion Classic up here at PH in the preseason. That's pretty much, it should be a shoe-in win for Northwood if it were to happen.
I guess this is the one cool thing about realignment in the Virginia High School League and the way they're doing with the conference system now and all the different regions. As it stands right now, the Hoagie District gets all their teams in but 2, and that's Chilhowie and Holston. Holston's got a lot of work to do to make it, but Chilhowie's right there. They could punch their ticket and get in also. But we can't get too used to the way things are arranged because the Virginia High School League reclassification comes out after next season.
Yeah, it'll completely change again. So
yeah. And let's what was I going to say? Oh, another thing, Marion isn't on there because Marion's in 1A. I think they're an 8 seed, and they're going to be playing against
2A.
Yeah, they're 2A.
2A. They're going to be playing an 8 seed. They are an 8 seed. They'll be playing a 9 seed. I think they were like a 6 seed, and I think they were playing Appomattox at home. So that would be a pretty good matchup. I think one of the Hogos, I think they did play Appomattox last year, if that did shake out that way. But with that, I guess we're going to go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back
Oh, before we do that, though, we want to mention our political dog appetizer of the week. That's the campaign trail, right? We got the nachos with chili, cheese, and jalapenos. So if you haven't ordered yet, you need to order the campaign trail, all right?
That sounds pretty good. Spicy. Andy may like it. Nope. Okay. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. We're going to argue about college football coming up next.
Sports Talk with Travis DeBusk and Dylan Hutton is brought to you by none other than Political Dogs, the hot dog leader of the free world. Dine in or take out of Political Dogs on 215 Town Square Street in Glade Spring, Virginia. The number is 276-429-1165. They're open Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. And check out their website, politicaldogs.com. They're also the site for our show on Tuesdays at 6 o'clock. Make sure you stop by and watch and eat at Political Dogs. If you have any Hoga-Higgy related questions or any college football related questions in general, tweet us at Hogo Game Day. And we'll answer the questions right here or discuss the comments right here live on the show.
Welcome back to Sports Talk. We're getting ready to talk about college football, and we'd like to go ahead and make an announcement. We got a new sponsor.
That's right, yeah. We want to give a big shout-out to Lowe's Home Improvement Warehouse. They've come on board to sponsor us here for Hoga-Higgy Game Day and our Tuesday night Sports Talk with Travis and Dylan. So big thanks to Lowe's Home Improvement Warehouse.
Yeah, Lowe's gave us a pretty good donation there. So let's go ahead and talk college football. A lot of news. This isn't listed on our things to talk about. I'm going to hit y'all with the curveball here. Brady Hoke at Michigan. That's a new story going on in case nobody heard it. Of course, he's on the hot seat. He's lost I don't know how many games this year, and Michigan's just been in a real slump. They got blew out by Utah earlier this year, got beat by Minnesota bad. Notre Dame's a good, yeah. And they actually played Notre Dame good compared to what they've played these other schools, but they just haven't played very well. Last week, they just didn't play very well, and their QB went down. They thought he had a concussion, but Brady Hoke wasn't even aware of it, and the QB played the whole rest of the game.
That's a big issue in all football right now, is the concussion. I think the protocol would have been to pull him and give him the concussion test, but it didn't seem to be an issue. But I think in that sense, your trainers have got to let your head coach know the situation.
Yeah, I believe Brady Hoke is innocent as far as that goes. Now that doesn't
cover him when them losses start piling.
No, that doesn't cover him in the losses. But as far as the concussion incident with the quarterback, that's why you've got trainers. You know, you got those guys on staff. You got all your other assistant coaches. You got your graduate assistants. You got your managers. You know, somebody else has got to keep an eye on that. He can't keep up with everything that's going on.
I don't think you can post the blame on it, but he's still in the hot seat. I mean, he's still losing ball games, and you know, with Michigan and the program that they are, you can't lose ball games like this, and you can't be an embarrassment, especially how the Big Ten is this year. I mean,
they're already embarrassing enough. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you can't blame him for what happened with the quarterback situation, but that doesn't take away from the season that he's had.
Yeah, he's been on kind of a downward spiral. You know, he picked up that come-from-behind win in the Sugar Bowl a few years ago against Virginia Tech, but then ever since then, Michigan's kind of been a train wreck, so he's definitely on the hot seat, which brings us to another thing. Who's out there that could possibly take his place, though? The coaching pool is a little bit limited on guys that are available for a job, and there is really only one big-time name that's out there available, and that's Mac Brown.
Yeah, I don't even think Mac's that dumb.
He may be comfortable in his ESPN suit now, but I don't know if you guys saw yesterday, Dennis Allen was fired from the Oakland Raiders.
That's right.
I mean, you could always look to that now. I mean, you got a guy that's got some NFL experience that maybe didn't work out in the NFL. I mean, we've seen some coaches that come from the NFL that was in the college side of it that tried the NFL and didn't work. I mean, Saban. Look at Saban in Spurrier.
Well, Michigan's problem right now, as far as their alumni goes and their fan base, this next hire after the debacle with Rich Rod, and now this deal with Brady Hoke.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Let me cut in right there. When you talk about Michigan for 70-some years before Rich Rod came, that's what they were. They were a hard-nosed, get in your face, power I team, and they'd run it down your throat, and they were going to line up like Northwood does. But, I mean, that's whenever they were at their best. Rich Rod came in, changed all that, recruited all these speedy guys. Brady Hoke had a good year his first year, but it was with the recruiting classes of Rich Rod. Since then, Michigan's been pretty quiet on the recruiting front. They've made some noise every now and then, but he's tried to change this offense back to what it had been. And I think at that point, when you look at it that way, what is he? What year is he in? His fourth or third, or fourth year? And when you think about that, he's changed the whole. He's had to change the whole mindset of the whole football program just because he wants it back to being a power run and not being a wide open spread offense.
Well, I just think this Michigan hire, though, to calm down the fan base is going to have to be a big time hire. Another big time, well, maybe not a big time college football job, but there's another Power 5 opening that come around this week too. The Kansas Jayhawks with Charlie Weiss getting fired again.
Charlie Weiss again.
So, I mean, ever since his stint with New England,
he's been living off that job.
And that he tried at Notre Dame and it didn't work.
Florida,
Kansas,
offensive coordinator.
It just never worked out for him. So, but Kansas has got to turn that program around. And Kansas is one of the laughing stocks of the Big 12. So, I think that has to. So they have to make a hire just like Michigan we're talking about. It's got to be something that's going to get them back over the top.
Other than Oklahoma, though, who's not a laughing stock of the Big 12?
Well, West Virginia played Oklahoma well. I mean, it wasn't a blowout by any means. I think they've got some growing up to do, and yeah, TCU, not a bad team. I mean, yeah, so I think you got some competitors there.
Baylor, okay, yeah, Baylor's not bad.
Yeah, you got the Baylor Bears.
I've got a sore spot with Baylor right now.
Well, let's just remember, if they don't play in the Southeastern Conference, they don't land on Dylan's radar.
It started.
I ain't going to start yet. We'll wait. All right, let's turn
If
around.
Patrick Henry was in the SEC, they'd be the best team in the country, yeah.
That's right. Well, they have to be in it. Now we're going to jump to some SEC news.
Of course.
I'll just go ahead and tell you this. Dylan Day, the center for Mississippi State, he's out for the whole game against Texas A&M this weekend. He stomped on two players during the LSU game, which Mississippi State won. That was a huge win for them, first win in about 20 years.
But I think he should be out. I agree with that.
Oh, I'm not arguing with it. Mississippi State is.
I think some of the reformations of some of the players that have been in trouble, like the Jameis Winston.
If he was at Florida State, he'd be playing in this game.
He'd be sitting out a quarter.
Okay.
But the SEC sent this suspension down, so they're not going to let anybody sidestep it.
I think that's where it's going to have to come from. The NCAA is not really doing much on the suspensions anymore. They're kind of leaving it to the conferences and the teams themselves. But it doesn't really seem to me like they're policing it enough. We're seeing some of these guys get away with some things that they shouldn't get away with. And I think until you stiffen up the penalties, it's not going to stop.
Yeah, don't you think it's only going to get worse, though, in this whole day and age of autonomy? They get the Power 5. It's basically the rest of the NCAA has said, you guys make your own rules, and they're going to let them do it. And I think we're going to see more and more of this unless the public and the fan base and the alumni just get onto these schools to do something. Let's face it, maybe the president stepped up, on the 11th hour in the Jameis Winston situation and pulled him for that whole game. But he wasn't going to do it if there wasn't an outcry from the alumni and the fan base.
It's too little too late in my mind. I mean, that should have been the suspension that was given from day one. I mean, you got to sit him that game, and it's not a football problem. It's a personal conduct problem is what it is. And until you teach that personal conduct, it's not going to change.
Well, look what he's done.
Yeah, it's just going to consistently get worse. I mean, they're going to have to, you got to paint the picture with these guys. We run into this problem with Johnny Manziel last year. With his off-field antics, they only suspended him a half for one game. That doesn't get it. That don't get it done.
Yeah, but Johnny wasn't breaking laws. He was posting pictures on social media about partying.
Right, but it's a team
every
rule.
College student does that.
You set out a team rule. That's a team rule. It shouldn't be broken. And for whatever the penalty is, you got to stick to it. It doesn't matter if it's a star quarterback or a third-string linebacker. It should be the same across the board.
Yeah, I think Jameis, if he's not a Heisman winner, he's off the team working at Shoney's or something. But that's pretty harsh. If he wasn't a Heisman winner, though, I feel like he would be suspended for a little bit. I mean, this is like the fourth time if not more.
Incident after incident with him.
How many more chances does he get?
Well, I mean, he got the crab legs. I guess he gets the shrimp next time. I don't know. Moving on, though, let's take a look at our. It's a big weekend in the state of Mississippi for their two major universities there. The University of Mississippi gets their chance against Alabama. I know you're excited. ESPN College Game Day actually making the trip to Oxford for that game. But they're excited over in Starksville, too. Mississippi State, like you mentioned, gets that big chance against Texas A&M to prove that they really belong up there in the top 25. How do you see both of those games shaping out?
I hope Mississippi State loses. But at the same time,
what kind of a conference guy are you?
They're playing a conference game. I got to pull for the teams that can make the championship.
You're supposed to say it doesn't matter who wins.
They're all the best teams. You'll see the best games on CBS, ESPN, and the SEC Network on Saturday. And that can be said, I think, it's SEC time. It's where the SEC teams, the big boys, play right there on CBS at 3:30 with Vern Lundquist and Gary Danielson. But that's where Ole Miss and Alabama are playing. I think Ole Miss-Bama is going to be a pretty good game. Ole Miss has finally got depth, I feel like, at the big positions. Offensively, Laquan Treadwell, Cody Core. There's some young guys there. That big recruiting class they had 2 years ago, Kim Deechie, and then Laquan Treadwell. You've seen him as a wide receiver. He's great. Then you got Quincy Adebayo. There's a name for you. He's a good wide receiver. They're packed on offense. The only thing that can hurt Ole Miss is Bo Wallace. If the good Bo Wallace shows up, they can play Bama right to the end and hopefully get the win. But if not, Bama's defense is pretty good.
I'm not sold on Alabama yet. They're kind of in a rebuilding year. I know they've got a great recruiting class, but I'm still not sold. I think Ole Miss wins this game. I think Ole Miss gets the upset against Alabama. What do you think, Travis?
I'm going to go with the Crimson Tide. I think the Ole Miss, this is going to be, I mean, let's face it, this is uncharted territory for them. They're really not used to being this good,
but
right? I mean, here we are, and they're in this early in the season, but we'll see what happens there.
I guess you've got Ole Miss.
Oh, yeah, I've got Ole Miss.
Yeah.
But it don't get easier for Ole Miss. Next week, let me tell you about this stretch of games. This is where the SEC puts you in a bind, and this is where I understand what y'all are saying about how they beat each other up. Listen. Ole Miss plays this week. Everybody who doesn't know the schedule like I do, which I'm assuming it's everybody who's against the SEC.
Nobody's against the SEC. We just live in a logical world in which the whole universe doesn't revolve around the Southeastern Conference. That's all.
I agree with Travis, but I'm not saying that I'm a hater on the SEC, okay? But I think there's enough good teams there that they're just going to beat each other. I mean, we've seen it week after week. How many people thought South Carolina was going to beat Georgia and then turn around and lose? I mean, that's,
happens every year. They've done it every year.
Well, lose to Missouri. How's that?
Missouri, yeah. I mean, it's not like they're turning around playing Alabama. I can understand
this year they have Auburn.
So I'm not sold. I'm not sold on the SEC getting a lot of teams in this playoff.
Well, they're not. I'm not saying I changed my top four.
Well, let's hear your top four. Who do you got in the playoff?
Auburn, Oklahoma, Oregon, and Florida State.
Hey, you're pretty close.
Top four.
Yeah, that's why I don't have it in that order, but I've got the same thing.
Of course I've got it in that order, guys.
My top four, if the season ended today, I would have Florida State, Oregon, Oklahoma, and Alabama. But I'm gonna throw two teams out there that I think, and it kills me to say this, but the Golden Domers at Notre Dame, I believe they're gonna have some say in this. They got Florida State coming up in a couple weeks.
They could be for real. Everett Golston's back, and he's looked just as good as he did a couple years ago. So I agree with you, Travis. I think they're a team to contend with.
And everybody talks about, and they struggled week 2. And everybody talks about how bad the Big Ten is, but what about Nebraska? There you've got a school that's got a lot of tradition. What if they run the table? They'll get their chance against Michigan State, and they might be a team that could sneak into this playoff.
Well, you want to go through some picks real quick?
Yeah.
We'll go through here. First pick we've got number 6 Texas A&M at number 14 Mississippi State. Who y'all got?
Starkville is going to be booming. The thing that, Dak Prescott's a great quarterback, and I actually got my picks right here. Let me go ahead and get them. That way I can't turn back. All right, the Aggies, it's going to be the Junction. That's where they tailgate at Mississippi State. They think it's as good as the Grove, but it's not. It's 11 o'clock kick in Central Time, so that can play a big factor. SEC Nation's going to be there. It's not as big as game day. Mississippi's on the map this weekend. It could be a big weekend for Mississippi. I've got Mississippi State winning 35-28. So I don't like the Bulldogs, but I think their defense is good enough. I'm not picking with my heart here. I'd pick against them. I've got Mississippi State winning. The way they looked against LSU, they looked for real.
Yeah, I don't have a score in that game, but I think Mississippi State's got the ability to pick up another upset and knock off the Aggies.
I got to go against you guys. Mississippi State tried every way to lose this game against LSU in the fourth quarter.
They slowed up,
34-7, and the game ends up 34-29 in the fourth quarter. I got too much Kenny Hill with Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M wins big, actually. I'm going Texas A&M.
You know, I could. 11 o'clock kickoff could make a big difference. All right, next game we got on tap, Florida at Tennessee. Yeah, Florida at Tennessee. As bad as Florida looked, it's just hard to gauge Florida right now. Their offense is just bad.
I think Tennessee's played really good these last couple weeks, especially in that game against Oklahoma and then again last week against Georgia on the road. I think Tennessee's going to pick up the big win. They're going to have the Rowdy Orange behind them. Now, that win may not look so impressive later on in the season if Florida doesn't pick up a few more wins themselves, and Muschamp may be in some trouble and he might be out of there, but I'm definitely taking the Vols.
Yeah, I'm picking Rocky Top. I think Tennessee finally gets a win against Florida. You think back last year, they should have won that game. They started a new quarterback, too, though Florida had their quarterback injured, and Tennessee matched them and started their backup. So I think Tennessee, when Worley gets out there on the field, he impressed me against Georgia. Worley's going to get the win in Neyland Stadium. It'll be packed.
Tennessee was my surprise team of the week. Playing Georgia like they did, and I don't think you can take anything away from what Georgia's done this year, but I think it speaks volumes for what Tennessee has done this year, and I think they're for real. I've got Tennessee in this game. Big game at home. The Florida-Tennessee game's always big in Neyland Stadium, so I've got Tennessee in this one.
Yeah, all three of us got Tennessee.
All right, battle for last place in the ACC. Virginia Tech at North Carolina.
Virginia Tech at North Carolina. Virginia Tech's 3-2. North Carolina's 2-2. North Carolina gave up 70 points to ECU. How much did Virginia Tech give up to ECU?
28.
Virginia Tech wins. They got a defense. I'm big in the Hokies.
I'm going to go with you. I'm not sure, though. I'm not real sure about this. Tech's played a lot better on the road this year. We've only had one road game, but we knocked off Ohio State.
Yeah, Big Bad Lane Stadium hasn't worked out.
It hadn't really worked out for us, but, if you go against the stats against North Carolina and ECU and Virginia Tech and ECU, I'd give the edge to Virginia Tech, but it really depends on how that offense plays for Virginia Tech. We've seen Michael Brewer at his best against Ohio State, and in these last few weeks, we've seen 8 interceptions in 3 games at home against teams that you probably shouldn't be throwing as many interceptions against in East Carolina and Western Michigan and Georgia Tech. Not really teams known for their defense there. North Carolina does have a tough defense, but I'm going to go with Virginia Tech in this game. I kind of got to go with my heart on this one. It really depends on how the offense shows up.
Big loss for Virginia Tech in the backfield last Saturday. But that might help them, though. Now they're not split on running backs. They were split in series and all that kind of jazz. We won't have to worry about that now. We got to move along quickly, starting to run out of time. But so I won't give a whole lot of analysis on that. But I think the Hokies pick up the win on the road.
All right, let's just pick at games quick here.
We'll just go real quick here. Number 4, Oklahoma at TCU. I've got Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Okay, pretty across the board there. Number 7, Baylor at Texas. I've got Baylor.
The Baylor Bears.
Baylor big. Texas don't have anything.
3:30 kickoff time. Number 16, Stanford at number 8, Notre Dame. I've got Notre Dame.
I'm going with the Irish.
I'm going upset Stanford. Go Cardinal.
Going with the Cardinal.
Upset there. 7 o'clock kickoff. Number 17 LSU at number 5 Auburn.
LSU gets it back together. They knock off War Eagle.
I agree. LSU.
Jordan Air will be rocking. Auburn. War Eagle, baby.
Texas Tech at number 25 Kansas State. I've got an upset here. I've got Texas Tech knocking them off.
I'm taking Texas Tech.
Kansas State. I got Kansas State winning this one.
I got Pittsburgh at Virginia, 7:30 kickoff. I've got the Who's.
I'm taking the UVA.
Who cares? I've got it's on ESPN3.
You made up the script here. We're picking the game.
Yeah, come on, you put it on there.
I'm picking Pitt. Why not? They got killed by Toledo or something last week?
7:30 kickoff, Miami, Florida at Georgia Tech. I've got Miami.
Ooh, I think this is going to be a good game, but I'm going to go with the Ramblin' Wreck.
Another boring ACC game. It'll be on ESPN too. I am picking. Why not Georgia Tech? I don't think Miami's going to be able to stop the run.
You call us SEC haters. You are an ACC hater if I've ever met one.
Yes, you are.
At least I've picked the ACC team.
You had to. There's two. 8 o'clock kickoff. Number 21 Nebraska at number 9 Michigan State.
Undefeated Nebraska.
I've got Michigan State, but it's closer than the experts think.
The Cornhuskers.
Not so fast, my friend. Cornhuskers. Mark it down. They're going to win. It'll be a tough win. It's on ABC. That'll be a good game to watch if you want to go to sleep to that game because there won't be any offense.
Hey, he finally made a good pick. And we want to touch on one more thing. We got a local game coming up this Saturday. Let's get some information out for it right quick. The Emory and Henry Wasps play their first home game of the season when the Randolph-Macon Yellow Jackets come to town. And the first time we'll get to see them in 2014 as they come play in front of the newly christened Lou Wacker Grandstand at Fred Self Field. So it's going to be a great game Saturday at 1 o'clock. Come out and support the Emory and Henry Wasps.
It's a bad weekend for Emory to play at home. You know?
Yes. What are you going to do? Sit at home and watch game day? You're going to come support the Wasps?
You want me to be honest? First time game days come to Oxford, I'll be sitting in front of the Vizio.
Hey, Emory comes into this game 3-0. Randolph-Macon comes in 2-1. They lost their season opener to John Hopkins up in Baltimore by a score of 42-3.
But Emory had the big win at Swanee last week.
They did. They got the big win 44-27. Randolph-Macon was picked to be second this year in the ODAC preseason poll, so this is going to be a great game. ODAC opener for both teams. It's the first home game for new Emory and Henry head coach Kurt Newsom, who we're hoping we might have on this show next week.
Yeah, next week hopefully we'll get Kurt Newsom in here, the head coach for the Emory and Henry Wasps.
He's been riding freshman quarterback Kevin Saxton. They've got the offense moving pretty good. They're averaging 33 points per game. They got a very balanced attack, 245 yards passing, averaging 200 yards rushing. Defense is only allowing 17 points a game, but now they did give up 354 yards rushing last week in that win against Sweeney, but most of that was by Sweeney quarterback Cody Daniel, so hopefully they can hold that number down a bit this week. Macon comes in averaging 168 yards per game rushing. Hopefully Emory can get things going this year in the ODAC. They are 8-18 since 2010 in the ODAC conference. They played these early season games against USA South. In that same time period, they have gone 14-0 against USA South conference teams.
That's a big.
They need some realignment, some conference realignment in Division III.
They want to take a look at that one.
Yeah, another game, a local game, UVA Wise plays their second home game of the year against Notre Dame College out of Ohio at 1 o'clock at Carl Smith Stadium. So two local games. When I first saw that, I was like, what, they're playing Notre Dame at home? That might be a good game, but, at the same time, it's Notre Dame College in Ohio. So
we call them the Little Golden Domers.
Yeah, the Little Golden Domers. With that, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. We're going to take some fan questions if we have any. If not, we'll get on to our last segment. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Sports Talk with Travis the Bus and Dylan Hutton. They'll be talking Hogo sports and college sports here on the Hoga-Higgy Network. They would like to thank their sponsors, starting off with Appalachian Plastics, Big M Farm Service, Serber & Son, Carter's Pharmacy, Glade Pharmacy, Abingdon Equipment, Lowe's, never stop improving. And last but not least, Political Dogs. Sports Talk with Travis DeBusk and Dylan Hutton is brought to you by none other than Political Dogs, the hot dog leader of the free world. Dine in or take out of Political Dogs on 215 Town Square Street in Glade Spring, Virginia. The number is 276-429-1165. They're open Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. And check out their website, politicaldogs.com. They're also the site for our show on Tuesdays at 6 o'clock. Make sure you stop by and watch and eat at Political Dogs. If you have any Hoga-Higgy related questions or any college football related questions in general, tweet us at Hogo Game Day. And we'll answer the questions right here or discuss the comments right here live on the show. You're listening to Sports Talk with Travis the Bus and Dylan Hutton. They'll be talking Hogo sports and college sports here on the Hoga-Higgy Network. They would like to thank their sponsors, starting off with Appalachian Plastics, Big M Farm Service, Serber & Son, Carter's Pharmacy, Blade Pharmacy, Abingdon Equipment, Lowe's, never stop improving, and last but not least, Political Dogs.
All right, welcome back to the final segment here of Sports Talk with Travis the Bus and Dylan Hutton. In this final segment, we're going to preview the Hogo game of the week between the Patrick Henry Rebels and the Rural Retreat Indians. Rural Retreat travels Patrick Henry 3-2 on the year against the 2-2 Patrick Henry Rebels. And the way I see it, Patrick Henry has sort of squandered away a 4-0 start that they should have had.
Yeah, there's a big difference between being 4-0 and 2-2, and
it can be a totally
the momentum. The momentum, I guess, is really where the difference is. You're really confident when you come into a game 4-0. They're 2-2, but hopefully these kids realize they left those 2 wins out there. They could have easily picked up those 2 wins just by holding on to the ball, getting good field position, holding field position when they had it. Patrick Henry still got a chance. It's going to be an exciting ball game. Rural Retreat, they haven't played so bad so far this year themselves. They had the big blowout loss to Marion, but they picked up a win against Narrows last week, so they come in riding high.
There's opportunities in this Patrick Henry offense, okay, for those 2 games that they've lost this year, especially that battle game. In our segment talking to Coach Palmer, you could tell it was a bitter taste in his mouth losing that battle game. But the biggest thing is going to be, can Patrick Henry's defense stop that rushing tandem of Nolan Ryan and Stone Mullins and plugging those holes. You know, those guys have well over 1,000 yards rushing between the 2 of them this year. It's going to be, can they stop it and contain it? You know, we heard Coach Palmer talk about you couldn't completely eliminate that part of their rushing attack. It's kind of like what we saw at Northwood last week. They're going to throw it at you. But even when we talk to Coach Palmer, he's got a defense. They're running their base defense. Rural Retreat may throw their offensive game plan at them, but Patrick Henry's not changing what they're doing on defense either. It's going to be 2 teams that's got their game plan set, and they're going to run them the whole game. It's just who comes out on top.
Yeah, I think we're in for a pretty good matchup there. If Patrick Henry wins, it'll be their first Hoga-Higgy district win since 2009.
So that's a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while back, Caleb.
It's a high emotion game. We got homecoming, and you know, a stat like that may motivate these boys. I think it'll be a close game. I'm not going to give them my pick yet. We're going to wait till Friday, but I think it'll be a close game. But I think that's going to be the key is Patrick Henry's defense. I think that's going to be the big thing.
You got any keys?
Well, obviously both teams are going to rush the ball. It's which, of course, Coach Palmer hit on the fact they can throw it when they have to. We're not convinced that Rural Retreat can throw the ball necessarily. They've got Stone Mullins and Nolan Ryan. They'll look to them to keep the ball moving. It might be similar to the game we've seen this past Friday night. Possessions may be limited. If there's a lot of, if the ball stays on the ground, clock's going to run down in a hurry.
Yeah, I feel like PH, to win this game, is going to have to throw the ball a little bit, though. I feel like Dakota Humphrey's doing good carrying the ball, but at the same time, eventually you're going to have to get back out to where you've got great players around him. You don't need to ride him all game long. Give him a little bit of a break.
The biggest key for Patrick Henry here is holding on to the ball. I mean, that's how they've got 2 losses this year. So, I mean, Can you hold on to
and
the ball?
And it's such a fundamental thing.
And you know, we talked about the Mullins and Ryan combo in the backfield. Those boys are linebackers. You know, they ain't no small boys. So I mean, you know, they're playing defense on that side of the ball too. So it's going to be, you know, you got to hold on to the ball, eliminate those turnovers and mistakes, and like Travis said, it's just going to be just like last week. We'll see two teams run the ball, and it's going to be who can hold on to the ball and eliminate those mistakes.
Judging by the weather forecast for Friday night, holding on to the ball may be a tough thing. Could be wet, muddy, and slippery out there.
Yeah, I think we might be in the gym for that pregame show, but with that, I guess we've covered all that we had planned here for this first show. We'd like to thank everybody for coming out and listening to Sports Talk. Make sure you come out and join us next Tuesday. We'll be back here, right back at it again, talking about a huge weekend in college football and a big weekend or a big Friday night in the Hoga-Higgy with Patrick Henry. So
we want to thank all our sponsors, but we really want to thank Political Dogs for letting us come in and set up here tonight. We hope to be back again next Tuesday night and keep this going at least through the remainder of the high school football season. You guys come on out and visit. They've got some great hot dogs. They got some dinner and lunch specials, some delicious appetizers. You got to eat those fried dill pickles. Anybody have those tonight? They were pretty good, right? Yeah. Let's hear it for those pickles. There you go. Did anybody? There you go. All right, so big thanks to Political Dog. Come visit these guys here in downtown Glade Springs.
And this Friday, of course, we'll be at Patrick Henry High School. If it rains, we'll probably be in the gym. I would assume that's where we'll be. So make sure you come out and join us. I believe we'll be in for a good game. I think everybody else is pretty much traveling or out of district, so it's the only Hoga-Higgy game of the weekend, I do believe. So let me check that real quick, make sure I'm telling the truth. It is the only Hoga-Higgy game of the weekend, so it's really the only game going on around. So come by and join the pregame show. We're trying to line up some guests. We'll be here. We'll be at PH, of course, and the live game broadcast at 7 o'clock. So make sure you join us then. But from Political Dogs and Corey Johnston, Travis DeBusk, and Dylan Hutton, and Andy Brown, Zach DeBusk, and myself, we'd like to say thanks. Zach Bird. Oops. Uh-oh. That's my bad. We're going to go ahead and leave here. That was the worst ending to a show you could probably do. We're going to go ahead and leave here. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for coming out. And we'll be back next week.